So there's a gradebook tool, and you can use it as a motivational tool, or I guess a demotivational tool if you get stressed about these things. Here's the gradebook, and it will open up all the gradebook items that you have tried. And if you don't see them all, you can hit entire course to date to make sure that you're allowing it to view all of them. So it'll show you your quizzes, and it'll show you your practice tests and things like that. Now, Chapter 5 homework reviews and those homework reviews that I have available after quizzes, those are not required. So those show that they're, let me get the whole screen here, they're grayed out and omitted. Okay, they don't help or hurt you. Well, I'm sorry, the scores don't help or hurt you, but they help you because they're practice, obviously. Now, the quizzes are required and the homework's required. If you do not have homework done, as you can see, I don't here. When you look at your overall score, your score may look much more inflated, much better than it really is. Mine just doesn't look good at all because I'm obviously not doing all the work. I've done it all before. Anyway, but so you be careful. If you haven't even started an attempt, it's going to assume that set for you, that homework set that you haven't done, is 100%. And that can be misleading. So if you want to make sure that you have the most up-to-date score, you need to always open every homework assignment. At least open it and try one problem. And it'll keep track of what you did and didn't do. Now, it also can be demotivating because it can look discouraging when you've opened a bunch of sets and you haven't finished them, and your score, your average, gets weighted down because now it is making you accountable for those. So don't get demotivated, but let me just say, if you're going to have an accurate score here in the gradebook, you do need to open homework and try at least one problem from each set. That way it'll make you accountable for what you should be accountable, and then finish them. All right, now I bring this up because some people did get a little discouraged by their scores on the midterm. And this is something that I don't have control over. So let me go to the distance ed addendum, and I think I've gone through this in another video at one I did in a different video, but let me just say it again. According to the distance ed addendum that was rewritten or revised last semester, I have to assign either proctored tests, all chapter tests being proctored, and then it doesn't matter what score you get whatever you get, and you earn your A through D or A through F. Or I can do a minimum of a midterm and a final with some requirements, and then there's only two that have to be proctored, like in the way I set up the course, where I'm only having two tests proctored. And proctored doesn't mean that you have to be on campus. It doesn't mean that you have to be with me. It means that you have to be with someone that either with me or someone that I've approved. And I really only need to do this for people that are outside of the area, but for people that I've approved to take your photo ID, verify that you are who you are, verify that you have the approved printed material and don't have things that aren't approved, and that you are and then they have the password, so they'll be able to put the password in for you to be able to take the test. So the way it's worded is that at least one midterm and the final must be proctored with a minimum score of 70% on the average of that midterm or midterms, if I chose to do more midterms, and the final. And if they don't get that, then they aren't even allowed to pass the class with a C or better. And everyone wants to pass the class with a C or better. They don't want a D. But what that would mean here is if your scores, your average of those two scores were lower than 70%, but all of your other scores on chapter tests happen to bring you an overall grade that was above C, then the best I could give you would be a D. So you could still pass the class with a D or an F. So let me demonstrate this a little bit here. So here is an example with real data from a real classmate this semester, that after the midterm she was devastated because she's got a 42.9 on the midterm. She said I could share this all by the way. So I went in and I grabbed all of her quizzes, and here were her quiz results. You can barely see them here. And you know, she's passing the quizzes, generally speaking. She's not on chapter 3, but And then she was going to be doing the chapter 5 one, which I don't know what she got. I haven't looked back at that. But I took it as it was, and I demonstrated for her that it's not all over just because you may have failed the midterm, even gotten less than 50% on it. So her quiz average was 64.61%. And then what else your grade will depend on is your homework average and your final. So what I'm referring to, by the way, is in the syllabus. It says that your grade is constructed out of a 15% weight on homework average, 55% on tests or the quizzes. That's basically 5% for each one, and then 15% for the midterm exam and 15% for the final exam. So the midterm and the final, there were 3 times as many as any single quiz test. So her homework average, she had been doing well. She had a 92 point something. I can't remember. I'm going to just fake it now with 92.4. Okay, so now the numbers aren't as real as they as I originally said they were going to be. Anyhow, and then that meant that she wasn't passing the class because I've got this weighted out already at 15%, 55%, 15, and 15. But if we put in a final exam score that's, let's say it's just a minimum A, the lowest A possible, then she's got a 69.33. And that is assuming, which is almost passing, and that is assuming that she doesn't change her quiz average. Because currently her quiz average is 64.1, right? Well, then that means she's going to have to change that, and that does mean that she's going to have to make sure that from the second half of the semester she really learns her stuff and gets a minimum A on the final and retains the A average she's been keeping on her homeworks. I think that's very possible. I think that if you keep the A average on your homeworks, you're probably going to do better on your quizzes. This score will go up, and then you'll be more likely to do well on the final and get a minimum of an A. In fact, even if she just brought her homework average up a little bit to say 95, then she has it. She has a 69.7. She failed the midterm, but she got a minimum A on the final, and she passes the class with a C. And that sounds fair, doesn't it? You know, if you failed one midterm but you get an A on the other one, that kind of averages out to say, well, you're a passing student. You came in at a C. Now, if you want to do better than that, or if she wants to do better than that, she's got to also improve the quiz averages a lot, and bring them up to something like 85, and then she could pass the class with a B, because now she's bringing this up to a B average. It all works out and all makes sense. I mean, it's not really that scary of a scale. It's a very fair scale, actually. Okay, so I'm going to come in here and make a point with regards to her grade and everyone's grades. So there are, and we've already passed one of these, there are extra credit points available for quizzes, but not all the quizzes. The first sets of quizzes, I didn't have any available, and I already had, this isn't like I added this recently. This has been in here since I posted the pacing schedule. I'm looking at the pacing schedule in, it's also in the Dropbox. I'm looking at it on my computer. And it says that if you take these quizzes early, so that you don't get behind. That was the intention of giving you extra credit for getting things done early, is because I want you to stay up on things. Then you can actually get 5% extra credit towards the respective quizzes. So for example, the quiz 6 was due this week, and if you had gotten it earlier, got it done by Friday midnight or Sunday midnight, and I made an exception because on Sunday I said I know that the Course Compass or my math lab are doing some revisions to the program, and they said that it was going to be unavailable for a certain amount of time on Sunday. If that caught you and it wasn't available for you to do the quiz, but then you came over and did it on Monday the 1st, I'll still give you that 5% extra credit. But if you didn't, then you got it done at the regular time. Okay, well, maybe you were still able to really learn and put the hours in to learn chapter 7. So 7, 1, 2, 3, and 4. If you learn them enough that you can get this quiz done before the chapter 7 quiz is supposed to be done, then you'll get extra credit on that one too. And same with 8 and same with 9. So there isn't one for 10 and 12, I might make some extra credit available for those, but currently I'm not planning on it. But there are some places for extra credit to help boost your quiz average. Getting done with course material a little bit ahead, just staying a little ahead, can earn you some extra credit. We will have a practice final exam that I'm going to put out before the final, and if you do that, I'm going to give you 5% extra credit on the final for doing that. Can't think of the other things I wanted to say right now, but I've said a lot, so it's already 11 minutes. So think about if you have questions about these things. I'm trying to put out these did you know things to kind of spawn questions and discussion among each other. I'm going to be in and out of having internet signals, so I'll try to get to some of these. But that reminds me, there's another good did you know that I'll do next on the discussion board.